So earlier this month, we crossed over the 6-year mark for the Nintendo Switch. And now being into the 7th year, I'm kind of looking back and reflecting on the generation, sort of where it's come from. And part of that is looking at Nintendo Switch Online. It's actually been 4.5 years now since Nintendo started charging for their online service, which was a first for them. I mean, going back to technically the GameCube, because you could play online with the LAN adapter, but really the Wii, it's been free to play online. And as soon as Nintendo announced it and showed what they were starting with, didn't go over well online. But I thought now would be a good time to look back at where we started to where we are now and answer the question once again: is it actually worth it now with Nintendo Switch Online and what it has to offer? So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure you like it, subscribe if you're new, and we're going to start with this video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Harry's. If you're like me, you're probably buying razors all the time and looking for the best deals without cutting out quality. Going to the store to shop for different razors can be a real pain. Harry's was created to be different from other shaving companies with fair prices, high quality products, and convenience with orders showing right up to your door. Here we have the starter set that includes a 5-blade German-engineered razor cartridge, a weighted textured handle, shave cream with aloe, and a travel blade cover. The blades are super sharp and give you a comfortable shave, especially when you pair it with the foaming shave gel. It's everything you need to get a clean, confident shave fitting into anyone's daily routine. And they have a 100% money-back guarantee. Save some money without skimping on the quality today, and click the link below to buy a Harry's trial set for just $5. That's a $13 value for just $5. Thanks to Harry's once again for sponsoring today's video. I want to first go back to the start of Nintendo Switch Online and kind of work up there with a very brief history. It launched same day as the Switch, March 3rd, 2017. That was with a beta period though. They weren't charging initially. It wasn't until much later, actually, September 2018, that they started charging at $20 per year. And they showed up with an initial offering of 20 NES titles, as well as talks around things like online play, cloud backup, and special offers as they showed. The video got immediately crushed with downvotes and still does to this day because Nintendo keeps uploading this video from what I've seen, but people just kind of come back and downvote it all over again. Although something has happened here with this service that we'll get to later on when it comes to the ratio of upvotes to downvotes. From here, though, Nintendo continued to add on to the NES library until adding Super Nintendo games in September of 2019. There was this initial attempt to stick to a once-a-month release cadence for games being added, but eventually, Nintendo just said, nah, we're not doing that anymore, and it became much more sporadic. 2 years later, in October 2021, the fun really began because then they announced the expansion pack tier that sent the internet into a tizzy since they were raising the price to $50 per year. Along with this, though, came Sega Genesis and Nintendo 64 games, as well as downloadable content that would just be part of your subscription. So if you were signed up, you would get downloadable content for Animal Crossing, which was initially revealed, and then Mario Kart. Finally, last month, February 2023, Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games were added into the service. Game Boy going into the regular service and Advance being set for the expansion pack level. Now, during all of this, we did have an update in 2020 that added the Nintendo Switch Online icon to the home screen, and this is a way to sort of circumvent needing to have all these different icons for systems on your home screen. That's one of the more annoying parts about this currently is if you want to jump around to different game systems as Nintendo Switch Online, you'll just have all of those game systems just populating your home screen as there's no real way to customize it much at this point. But this icon is actually kind of cool because it allows you to go through the selection of games all in one place. And I like them kind of taking them and sorting them through by release date, original release date. So it's sort of fun to see even the release lineup and sort of the timetable for some of these games. You can also check out your cloud saves, special offers, missions, and rewards, which sort of line up with the idea of achievements. Maybe that's something Nintendo tackles next generation to get started. They also have the expansion pack tab that shows benefits specifically for that tier with downloadable content front and center. Unfortunately, this app, though, pretty sluggish and kind of annoying to have to use. It just feels like it's always lagging behind you as you're scrolling through. It takes a while for things to populate and show up on screen. We've also been getting these game trials. I mean, it's there. It's just a random benefit to me. You get 7 days to try out a game, but it just doesn't have any staying power compared to other systems, PlayStation, Xbox, that just leave the game in your library provided you've claimed it in those 30 days. Online play, obviously part of Nintendo Switch Online, which is really annoying that it's still something that they will kind of put behind that paywall. It's across the board, though, with Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Once they figured out they can charge people to play online, they've stuck with it really ever since. But I guess technically if you just want to play Fortnite, you don't need NSO for it, so don't worry about it. Cloud storage and backups. It's tied to a subscription. Another aspect that's really annoying to me, because you basically have your one way to back up behind a paywall. You can't do any local backup option, which is wild stuff to me. The fact that you can't back up your save games to a USB thumb drive, for example, when there's USB ports directly on the dock is just, it's weird. I would like to see them do that, and I don't want to hear the excuse that it has to do with security concerns, because to be honest, Nintendo, a paperclip hacked the system a while ago. We have had some original games that were added in with Tetris 99, Pac-Man 99. Those are still available. Mario 35 was really cool. Unfortunately, it was removed. And again, a strange decision by Nintendo. I understand they were trying to make it a celebration title, but would people really be annoyed if it was still there and be like, well, I can't play it. It's not the 35th anniversary for Mario anymore. No, they would just play it. Anyway, looking at all of those benefits, some of the hiccups that Nintendo has gone through, and it's been very, very notable online because there's been a lot of noise around this, emulation issues. A lot of it appears to be centered around Nintendo 64, and I can kind of get it because as things get more complicated with emulation, more problems can arise. The Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo, not really a lot brought up around that. Even the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance most recently. But the Nintendo 64, we're talking graphical issues, missing features, control settings, just to name a few. Now, Nintendo has been updating some of these games, and they have fixed several issues, like the fog, for example, that was displaying incorrectly in these Nintendo 64 games, like Mario Kart or Ocarina of Time, have at least been resolved. Speaking of emulation in these different systems, I did want to go through and just get a count of how many games are available, because unlike other services in this price range where you sign up for Xbox Live Gold or you sign up with PlayStation Plus, you don't have all of the games that were offered retroactively available in your library. It's just whatever games you are there at the time to claim will be in your library. But with Nintendo, it's different. As soon as you sign up, all of the games that have been added in the past are just available to you through these applications. So with the original Nintendo, there are 64 games. With the Super Nintendo, there's 56 games. With the Sega Genesis, there's 36 games. With the Nintendo 64, there's 22 games. Game Boy, 11 games. Game Boy Advance, 7 games. That brings everything to a total of 196 games that are available as soon as you sign up. Again, that's at the $50 tier. I do think the situation around this would be a lot better if Nintendo just allowed you to buy any one of these games from Nintendo Switch Online a la carte, similar to what Sony has been doing now with some of their PlayStation Premium legacy titles. While I understand looking at it, digital ownership, do you actually own it? But still, it would be nice just to have that option so you're not locked into a subscription service if you just want one title that's there. Now, I'm not going to tell you those are all good games because they're not, but there's still some really fun ones in there on the Nintendo 64 side. Obviously, things like Ocarina of Time, F-Zero, GoldenEye, Pokemon Snap. You look at the Super Nintendo, there's obviously all the Marios in there. Donkey Kong Country, the Nintendo has some good ones, and so on. And there is a lot of excitement right now around Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. While Metroid Fusion went in, I think it's more or less the potential for what could be, because if Pokemon gets added in, or Mother 3, it's going to be really hard to criticize Nintendo with their Game Boy and Game Boy Advance applications. So now the big question, is Nintendo Switch Online actually worth the cost now? Because I would probably be on the side of when it was first introduced, even at $20 a month, felt extremely lackluster, and a lot of that had to do with the content that was available and provided by Nintendo was not able to outweigh the shortcomings of the service itself when you were playing online, because so many notable features that we're used to on other platforms we're just missing. And I think that's where a lot of stuff has really flipped around for Nintendo, because they just have an overwhelming amount of content, whether it's just games from their legacy catalog, newer original titles with Tetris 99 as a big one, or the downloadable content that on its own has a pretty good value for something like Mario Kart, where nearly half Switch owners have bought it, so they would probably benefit from it. You start to look at that and go, how much do I really care about native voice chat online? Now, for me, I would prefer to have all of it, right? You have the ability to set up party chat. You can invite people through messages that you just send. It's still weird to think that years and years later, you cannot message people on Nintendo Switch Online, but here we are. However, if someone came to me right now and they just bought a Switch and they said, hey, is this $50 Nintendo Switch Online worth the money? I have to look at them and say, well, it's almost 200 games, and a lot of those are classic titles. Yeah, it's probably worth signing up at this point, whereas before I'd say, it's like 20 games. If you're not going to play online much, you can probably skip it for now. But Nintendo has worked to position this service in a way that's different from their competition with Sony and Microsoft, those being Xbox Live Gold and PlayStation Plus Essential, two services that are viewed more as a gateway to playing online, with a couple of games sprinkled in there depending on the month that you're subscribed. This looks more like a content offering similar to Netflix, but for a lot of the legacy titles that they have currently. And in fact, I kind of look at it as a way for Nintendo to even branch out to where this service without the online play would probably be worth it to a lot of people. Not everyone, because if you're someone who has no problem just emulating the games you want on your PC or your cell phone, probably like, I don't really care that much. But there are many people. Consider how many Switch systems have sold, like over 120 million or something. There's a lot of the mainstream attached to this platform, to where seeing that number of games available from the last 25 plus years, yeah, even though they could emulate it on the PC or their cell phone, they probably don't want to. They just want it to work on their Switch. And that's where I think Nintendo could grow this even further if they branched out simply from the Switch to even cell phones. Yeah, where you have a Nintendo Switch Online app or just a Nintendo Online app, and you could play a lot of these games on demand from your phone, or who knows, maybe they put it on TVs and they go from there. And I am fully aware that online, the popular opinion is to basically just say that Nintendo Switch Online, not worth it, complete ripoff, etc., etc., etc. But if I'm going to sit here and look at this entire thing objectively after 4.5 years of them building up this service or this content offering, it is hard to argue against it when it comes to the number of games available versus the price. That said, there's still a lot of work for Nintendo to do going forward, obviously on the services side, but even on the content side when it comes down to the options, the customization, and all that. But if you don't really care about the retro games that they offer, I can kind of understand then, because as a services platform for online play, doesn't hold up the best, and I'm hoping that's something Nintendo realizes and looks at a bit more going into next generation, because I think what we have now is it for the current Switch, and hopefully they launch with a more robust set of features for their next platform to get started from day one. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below. Just wanted to kind of come back here and see where people's mindset was with Nintendo Switch Online, because it appears to me after Game Boy and Game Boy Advance got added in, a lot of people's kind of attitude towards NSO flipped a bit, and even looking at things like the video they keep uploading, not getting downvoted as much. These Game Boy announcements, not really getting downvoted that much. So maybe people are coming around on Nintendo Switch Online more of a content platform as opposed to a services platform for playing these games online. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.